How do you turn a funnel cake crowd into mattress buying customers? Selling at events like state fairs, it's not for the faint of heart, but there's gold in those tents, and Jason Goodman knows how to find it. In this episode, the head of business development for City Mattress is back on the pod to break down the art and grind of event selling and at a higher level. He's here to help you understand how to develop your business. The FAM podcast starts right now. For the first time ever, top retailers can introduce the mattress that's been locked away inside of one of America's top mattress retailers until now. Introducing Prana Sleep, the ultimate luxury mattress collection designed by lifelong sleep industry leaders who set out to create the best sleep experience imaginable at any cost. Born from decades of industry expertise and real-world retail feedback, Prana Sleep doesn't just sell mattresses, it sells satisfaction, loyalty, and premium performance. Now, Prana Sleep is awarding these unparalleled products to a select group of top-tier retailers. Proudly made in the USA, Prana Sleep mattresses are handcrafted in private factories by top-tier craftspeople, ensuring exceptional quality and detail. What sets Prana Sleep apart? 100% natural materials, luxury latex, and the only machines in the world that quilt latex directly into the top panel for a one-of-a-kind, indulgent feel. Stand out in the marketplace with a mattress line engineered for luxury and crafted for those who demand the best. Your competition will hate selling against Prana Sleep because nothing compares. Prana Sleep, bring the secret to success into your stores today. Go to pranasleep.com now to apply. Did you know that 86% of customers buy from the first business that responds? And if you text back very quickly, that number jumps to over 90%. That's why Podium's AI employee, Jerry, is a game changer. Jerry never sleeps, never takes a lunch break, and never puts in a 2-week notice. He's always on, responding in seconds, so you never lose a lead again. Turn missed calls into texts, capture more leads, and close more deals, all with Podium. Want to see how it works? Get a demo today at podium.com/fam. Podium, because speed wins sales.
Welcome to the FAM podcast with Mark Kinsley. This is where the best in the betting business get even better.
Jason Goodman, welcome back to the pod. If you didn't listen to the original episode, man, the secret sauce of City Mattress, that was a fire podcast. I really enjoyed it. Thank you again for coming back, because I have to scratch my own itch in this industry sometimes, and I have to follow my curiosity. And whenever you and I have had conversations about the events business and event selling, I'm so fascinated by it. But first of all, for people who don't know you, give yourself a proper introduction here on the FAM podcast.
Sure. I grew up in Michigan. I'm a huge sports fan, love all the Michigan sports teams and Michigan football and basketball and all that. And I worked for Art Van Furniture. That's where I started my career, and I got to really learn professional selling from them. And then I moved on to Florida, and I got a chance to work for Mattress Firm when they were growing. I started with Mattress Firm when there were about 250 stores. And when I left in 2014, almost 2015, there was almost 4,000 stores. Through that ride, I got to be a salesperson at the entry level, got to run a market, was a key member of our training team and developing training for the company. In our franchising program, I got to run business development, which was e-commerce, events and expositions. We called it multi-channel sales, and really any non-traditional retail that we did came through me and my department. So it was a lot of fun. I got to do a lot of jobs that I probably wouldn't have been hired for, but because the company was growing so fast, I happened to be in the room, and I always raised my hand and said, I'll do it. I'll figure it out. And I was lucky enough to work for 3 different CEOs at that time. I got to work for Gary Fazio, Steve Stagner, Ken Murphy. At one point in my career, Harry Roberts, Charlie Roberts, Paul Stork, and Steve Fendrick were all insulated around me in our franchising program. And so I was able to be part of the company as it grew from a regional retailer to a national powerhouse. And I got to learn from the original founders of the business, and was just truly blessed to be able to be part of that ride. And then I left. I ran a entertainment company, which some people in this business know, called Encore Live. We did events, we did conventions, we did concerts. We've had the Eagles on a ranch in West Texas, and George Strait at a wedding, and producing presidential inaugurations, is down to corporate meetings and meetings that were a lot of fun, and tried to really bring an entertainment aspect to it. Then I ran a car dealership. I was CEO of 500 Below Cars. It was we were developing the business, and I got to really, I mean, from creating the website and opening stores, and our last year in business, we were 250% over our prior year sales. But COVID, really messed with the car business, and so we sold that business, and I got to retire for a little bit. I did some consulting and some coaching. I spent a lot of time with my kids. I have a 10-year-old daughter and a 12, almost 13-year-old son, and my lovely wife. We got to spend a lot of time together. And then I was introduced to a friend of mine, to Mark Schiller, the owner of City Mattress and Prana Sleep. And I've been helping out City Mattress for the last couple of years, learning from them, and just being part of an incredible management team and a company that is just truly world class. And so, that's a little bit about me. I love to travel, and I love spending time with the family, and just happy to be back in the mattress business.
Yeah, you can't escape it. We're glad to have you back. And I think that's one of the reasons, like, whenever you and I have had a chance to chat, and I learned about your history, and I learned about all the different projects and parts of the organizations that you've been able to work on, there's just like so much rich, learning and training and information that we can share through the pod, that I wanted to, like, all right, let's start peeling away the layers of the onion. Because throughout your entire career, like you said, you raised your hand, you said, I'll do that. And you had to go develop it. You had to go develop that business. And so one of the pieces of the business you developed that I find very fascinating kind of goes up to this theme of, hey, if you're worried in your mattress retail business about getting foot traffic, sometimes I'm like, well, go to where the foot traffic is. Like, go to where there are a lot of people. And even if it's like a mobile setup or temporary setup. And I remember through the years hearing about the events and entertainment business, and specifically, I think the number, so correct me because I'm going to tell you the wrong number. But at one point I heard, oh my gosh, like during the State Fair of Texas, Mattress Firm did something like, I don't know, $14 million in sales. And like the bells and whistles start going off for me of like, what is that environment like? What makes, some people succeed in that environment? Why don't more people go and do events like this? And as you started taking me through it, I'm like, this is incredibly fascinating. So I know we're going to talk about like other business development principles, but let's start there. Let's start with like, why get into that business? How did it work? Where's the minefield? Take us through it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, obviously the numbers got really big, but they started really small. And we had a hard time making money early on as well. We would do 100, I think more than 200 events some years, and some of them would be great, some of them would be terrible. And so the things that we learned through that were pretty clear. We knew that, first of all, the event had to be a paid event. No use going to a free event. It didn't really bring in the right crowd. You want to find a crowd that's got a husband and wife there, both decision makers present, some disposable income. And then, being in the right place in the show matters as well. Having the right product, and then having the right people. So those are kind of the overview of it, right? So am I in the right place? So place meaning right event, right style of event, right location in the event. Do I have the right product? Is this product interesting to people? Do they want to come in and lay on it? Are other people coming to lay on it? Is it interesting to people? Do they want to lay on it? And the third thing is the people. Are these people really sharp salespeople? And when I say that, I think our industry is full of wonderful professional sellers. The problem sometimes can be that we as retailers make it very easy for customers to say yes. And so we don't have to use all of our sales skills as retail sales associates. And so somebody who is willing to hear no 18 times before they hear yes is a very unique individual. So you have to have a salesperson that's cut from a cloth and that is trained and developed and guided to be able to deal with no's, to go for the yes, more in a traditional selling environment. So the place, the product, and the people really are the key. And then there's a lot of ways we can go from there in that business.
Let's talk about the place first, because I remember you saying like there are different types of shows. Number one, you said it's got to be a paid event, can't be a freebie. But like, so what are some examples of shows that don't work and types of shows that do work?
Yeah, one that always strikes me as funny is that the health and fitness shows very rarely are great for selling mattresses. What happens is, again, usually one or the other of the decision makers in the family are health fanatics. They might both be healthy, but usually one drives that more than the other. And so you get a bunch of one-leggers, as we call them in our business, right? And so they can be very difficult to sell at those events. Although you would think that would be a good spot. Over the years, it's become better. And as people have learned to sell smaller ticket, more sleep-focused products, you can have some success in those events, but they tend to be difficult. And NASCAR was another one. We thought, boy, NASCAR and sporting events, those should be good. But it's a destination. They want to come in, they want to park, they want to get to their spot, whether it's tailgating or head into the infield or getting to their seats. And so they don't want to always take the time. So those events didn't work as well. There's plenty of others that don't work as well, but those are kind of the two that always struck me as funny. I thought sporting events or health and fitness world would be a good spot to go.
What about like an RV show?
Yeah, those are great. RV shows, boat shows, things like that, because it's a major purchase. And usually if you're buying an RV, both husband and wife are partaking in that, right? She has some things that she cares about. He has some things that he cares about. And so RV shows, boat shows tend to be pretty good. They're harder to get in because they don't have as many other retail selling spaces. Like a state fair, everybody's selling stuff at the state fair. At the RV shows, people usually are coming there to look at the RVs and not always intending to buy anything. So they can kind of be mid-tier, but still certainly very good from a foot traffic standpoint.
What's like the number one event to go to?
Rodeos. And, I'm a kid who grew up in Michigan, and I still have no idea how to score a bull ride. I've seen hundreds of hours of rodeo. We always would wear different uniforms at different events. At a state fair, it might be one thing. And at a rodeo, all the rodeos really were they want you to be Western themed. And so, we've had barrels of hay in our booths, and we would wear pearl snap button-up shirts and cowboy boots. And somebody asked me one time what my favorite costume was that I got to wear to the events, and by far it was rodeo. I got some real killer pearl snap shirts in my closet that don't get as much use. Although I do live in Houston, so I get to pull them out once a year. But the rodeos work really well because it's a customer. This is where the business started. So the business started with Walter Kinsley sitting in a mattress store one day, wondering why the heck we don't sell at these events. He grew up in a small town in Kansas, and his family would always go to the state fair every year to buy a new refrigerator or to buy a new sofa. And they would have a trailer and they'd fill it up with stuff they bought at the state fair, and they'd go home because they didn't have a mall close to them. There wasn't a furniture store that was near them. And so this was how they made their once a year annual trek to the state fair to buy things. And then one day a customer came in and said, "Hey, I want to buy a mattress. I saw y'all at the State Fair of Texas." He sold him a mattress, although we were not at the state fair at the time. And so he put a business plan together. He literally waited in the lobby for the CEO, who he knew was in town, waited in the lobby of his hotel, pitched him the business plan, and got it approved. And so that's how this business really started in the mattress industry, was Walter Kinsley's tenacity and experience in his life of buying things at the state fair. So that the state fair draws from far and wide and brings a lot of people in. So that's usually the highest foot traffic event and the one that has the highest volumes for people.
Let's talk about, okay, I love this. So let's talk about the people, because this one's fascinating to me. It sounds like if you were going to like use more crass terms, it's like you got to have a killer. Like you got to have somebody that can thin slice the situation, hear no 18 times. Walk us through, like, if you're the salesperson and you're standing next to that bale of hay in your pearl snap shirt and people are walking by, what are you looking at in these people? And then how do those conversations go from a selling standpoint? And then what's happening in this person's mind that's going to make them successful versus your $1 million rider that's in the store right now that you pull off and you bring them in, they're not going to be successful. Walk us through that dynamic and that selling situation.
Yeah, sure. And sometimes it can translate and sometimes it doesn't, right? Sometimes the $1 million writer in the store is incredibly personable and knows all the products and takes their time and is very caring, really builds a relationship with the customer. You don't have time for that when you're seeing 10,000 people walk past you in a day. And so we had a term we called that I believe in so the sales process is slightly different. I believe at the front, you have to do what I call Q3, quick, quality, qualifying, right? So you gotta be quick. How old's your current mattress? It's 2 years old and I love it. Okay, great. Enjoy your corn dog. My mattress, it sucks. We got it at our wedding, or it's from his previous girlfriend and we're still sleeping on it. Whatever those comments are. Now I know that customer is qualified. People don't walk into a mattress store who are not qualified to buy a mattress, right? They came into a mattress store, right? They know they need a new mattress and they know where to go get it. In this case, they are walking through the rodeo or the state fair, browsing, checking things out, having a few beers, eating a corn dog, and then think about buying a new mattress. So it's a filtering process, essentially, is what you're doing. Half of your job is telling people which way the bathroom is, right? Oh, bathroom's over that way. Yeah, bathroom's over that way. So you got to get through that. So now once they're into the booth, then it becomes a process of how quickly and efficiently can I find them a bed that they like? And so, again, we can talk about product in a second, but having the right product out there makes that easier. You don't want to have 40 different options for them. You can have 40 different beds, but let it be 5 or 6 options in those 40 different beds. You want a multiple SKU oftentimes, because if you got a hot seller and somebody's laying on it, you want to have another one so that you can show that bed as well. So then a lot of it is financing. So if you can use financing to make these sales easier for people. When they look at a couple $100 a month or $100 a month for the product, it makes it an easier decision. But then it's about overcoming objections. And we as salespeople know the best way to overcome an objection is to never let an objection happen, right? But when you're fast paced in the sales world, you don't always have that luxury. So you need to be capable of overcoming, well, we need to think about it. Here's why you don't need to think about it. Well, I'm not quite sure. Well, here's why you're sure, right? And you would find salespeople who were very good at building rapport quickly, finding the needs of the customer quickly, and then being capable of overcoming objections, and then asking for the sale, right? We forget this. The problem with mattress retail is so many customers make it, they're rude. They buy the bed without us asking for it, right? We give them a great presentation on a $5,000 set of bedding, and they're like, yeah, we'll take it. That's great. Thank you. And we sometimes forget how important closing questions are, especially closing questions that solve the problem. So we thrived on the book Spin Selling. I believe Spin Selling is the best sales book that's been written. It was written by scientists. It's written in a way that is not necessarily a fable or a story. It's not the most enjoyable book to read. No offense to Neil Rackham and his team. Good authors, but great information. So that methodology really helped us to understand the needs quickly and then to solve them in order to really make their life better, which is what people really are buying a mattress for, is to improve their life.
Well,
And then being told no.
Go granular just for a minute. Like, what from spin selling translated over to the events environment? Like,
it's the questioning. Yeah, sorry. It's the questioning methodology, right? So the surface questions are where salespeople start, right? How old's your bed? The qualifying questions that I was talking about before. Then the next is the problem. So what problem do I have with my current mattress? It's too old, it's too small, it's ex-girlfriend slept on it, whatever those problems are. I have a problem with my mattress. So I tuck that back as a salesperson. I say, okay, now I understand the problem. The next step is the implication. So if your bed's too small and your husband tosses and turns, what does that do to you? Well, I don't sleep through the night. I elbow him in the middle of the night because he's snoring or whatever that thing is. So the implication of your problem is that your life is worse, right? So the next step is, and the I is implication, the N is needs payoff. Again, not a great term for it, but basically I'm going to retell you what your problem is. I'm going to make sure you understand the implication of your life. I'm going to show you how our problem solves that, or how our product, our solution solves that, thereby making your life better. Right? I had a sales manager say it way easier once. Joe Trainum, the guy that hired me at Mattress Firm, he said, you got to find the pain, you got to make them feel the pain, and then you got to fix the pain. It's a simpler way to think about it. The book Spin Selling outlines it in a much more detailed perspective, and we built our sales process around that structure.
All right, thanks for taking me through that. Sometimes when I hear something, I'm like, okay, I need a double red underline, a little more definition around that. So SPIN actually is an acronym. Okay, I wasn't aware of the book. Okay,
yeah, so great book.
You've got Spin Selling. We'll put that in the show notes.
I would also say, if you're going to read it, buy the workbook that goes, or a field book that goes with it. It's fill in the blanks. It helps you work through, makes you kind of really drive home the point. So the books go together in my mind. So buy them both, and they're wonderful.
So you're at the right event, you've got the right people, but the product has to be differentiated, has to be unique. So you can have these two boxes checked, but if you don't get the right product, you're probably going to be toast, because you're not showing anybody anything new. And when they go to a state fair, it's like a World's Fair. People used to go to see what was new and different and innovative.
That's right.
So talk about product now.
Yeah. Tempur-Pedic has been great for retailers in this business because it's a demonstrably different product. Purple does very well. Prana Sleep, our product, does very well, because those products are all differentiated. There's something unique and different that you can talk about them. It's something that they haven't seen before. And that is really important because again, you're asking them to, hey, come lay down on this. Come try this out. I could go look at the new Ford Raptor. I could go check out the John Deere tractors. I could go eat another corn dog and have a beer and listen to a band, right? There's so many things that can draw their attention. You have to have something that is unique and interesting for them to come lay down on. And we tried it with, we've tried it with all different kinds of beds, and some work better than others. There were many vendors who would still to this day try to put their product out there, and if it's not unique and differentiated, it may not work as well. And then the other thing is having a higher ticket, having more expensive beds, because you're going to sell a very specific number of units, so you want to make sure your average ticket is high.
Got it. I love that. I've seen Prana Sleep mattresses in the store environment. How would that translate if somebody's like, yeah, I'm gonna do these events business. I have Prana Sleep in a store environment. Like I said, that's where I've seen it. How would it translate over to that selling experience where you have the right people, the right event, and now you have this product? Are they looking at it visually? Are they looking for something demonstrable?
Yeah, both. Yeah, so for Prana Sleep specifically, it looks different, right? We have an inverted seam, so it's sewn differently. It's sewn more like a fine suit versus a typical tape edge around the bed. So visually, it starts to look different. And then the story is different, right? It's spring-free, it's latex, it's natural. You have these products that are different than what they're used to hearing about. And then again, I like to say the feel is the deal. And Dave Brummett taught me that many moons ago. The feel is the deal, and you lay down on it and it feels different. It feels familiar, or it feels like a traditional mattress in a lot of ways. So you don't have to get over the objection of, I don't like the way it feels. Some other innovative products, the initial feel when you lay down on it, people might think like I'm sinking into it, or it's quicksand, or I can't roll over. And we know how to overcome those objections, and we know they're like minor surface level objections. But with Prana Sleep, you don't have to have those. So we find that it performs at these events pretty well.
One thing I would also probably show, because it just was so arresting to me when I was in the retail store, in the City Mattress store, was the slat system in the box spring. I mean, talk about like, if you need to have couples, and like you said, hey, we're a couple, we're here to check things out. Boom, you're qualified. Do you like soft? Do you like firm? Boom, you can like show them how that slat system can be adjusted to add the firmness level that you prefer on each side without having to have a different mattress. And just visually, when I saw that slat system for the first time, I was just drawn to it. So I can imagine even like putting that up there vertical, but then it's also in the box spring as well. So like you're saying, there's so much going on. It's such a chaotic environment. There's just stimulation at every turn. There are bands playing. I've got a beer buzz. I've got a funnel cake in one hand. Kids are running about and riding rides. So you have to have something that's going to stop people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the other products too that, do very well are massage chairs. I see a lot more mattress retailers that are out there expanding into the massage chair business. They're tangentially related. They're similar price points. Again, people are willing to take a ride, so to speak, on the massage chair. We failed too. I failed many times. And, I thought fitness equipment would work, and fitness equipment did not work. People did not want to put their corn dog down to get on a Stairmaster. It wasn't nearly as interesting to them. And so I'm not saying it couldn't work. I'm sure somebody could figure it out, but I couldn't. And so it was great. Jason Sellers, who's a Mattress Firm franchisee today, he and I spent a lot of time trying to figure that out. And then another one of the people that was key to this business was Nathan Bruno. He was one of the greatest sales leaders that I've ever worked with, and really hyped people up. We created this Super Saturday sales meeting, and we would always have the last Saturday of the event was our Super Saturday sales meeting. And we'd get dressed up in superhero costumes. We'd have music playing. I mean, it was a party. You walked in and you felt like, man, this is something different. All the other vendors looked at us like we were nuts. We're ringing cowbells and just having a blast. And that culture gave them energy. So did the Red Bulls. But the energy was driven through that culture, and because it wears on you. It's hard to stand that long. It's hard to stand that long for 24 days in a row. It's hard to be told no 25 times, and so you got to have that energy and that culture to go along with those products.
I love that. That's the behind the scenes stuff that people don't see. It's like, what does it actually take to be successful in that type of environment? Man, you got to have a team. You got to have some new waves of energy that come in and boost you up and get you feeling good so that you can hear no, like you said, 25 times in a row, and people asking you where the bathroom is, and hold my corn dog while I tie my shoes. Hey, we got some cool mattresses over here, by the way. It is tough. I can only imagine. And I think that's why some people have tried to develop their business in that way and like backed off of it because they found the reality. And which makes me think, like, as you zoom out, I know this is a piece of the puzzle that it's really fun and interesting for me to learn about. But as a business development lead with City Mattress, with Prana Sleep, as the CEO of the auto dealership, you were always developing your business. Like, talk about that for a moment. Like, how do you think about business development in a way that maybe you could impart some knowledge on people?
Yeah. One of my mentors has a quote, Gary Fazio. He talked about, you have a problem, now you have a solution, now you have another problem. And so we would come up with a problem, hey, we want to sell more stuff outside of the walls. Okay, well, we could sell at the shows. So now we have a solution. Well, how do we sell at the shows? Now we have another problem, right? So problem, solution, problem, it just happens. It's universally applicable. And so I love that. I'm a problem solver at the core. It's what I love about business, the people and the problems. And so, it really starts with, I have a super simple 4-step process. 1, identify the problem. 2, solve the problem, right? Figure out what your solution is. 3, implement the solution. 4, make sure it worked, right? So you go back and you say, all right, what is the actual problem? I want to sell more beds outside of the store. Okay, I'm not selling enough beds in the store. Let's say my solution then is selling them outside of the store. How do I do that? So I come up with a solution. I'm going to fundraise at a school. I'm going to sell beds to Airbnb owners. I'm going to work. There's a new condo that's developing around the corner for my business. I'm going to go try to sell all of them beds. So you have this solution. Then you got to implement the solution. You got to put it in, and you're like, okay, great. I did my stuff. And then you have to step back and you have to look at it without bias, right? This is something Mark asks us all the time. Is it good, or is it good because you built it, right? Do you think it's good because you built it, or is it actually good? And so you got to check your bias. And that's what step number 4 is, to make sure, is it working? So if you want to sell beds at a trade show, an event, great, go do it. It didn't work. Well, why didn't it work? I didn't have the right people. I didn't have the right product. I wasn't in the right place. Probably one of those three things. And so every step of business development should start with a problem you're trying to solve, and to really understand that and cross functionally understand that problem, right? Because you can be myopic sometimes. I can be myopic and what I think it needs to be. But really, there's so much more to the problem I'm trying to solve. So if you get collaboration at the beginning of understanding the problem, it's much easier to cascade it through the organization as you develop these solutions. Even if you're the owner, you're the CEO, you're the department head, it's still hard for you to tell people what to do if they're not bought into the vision. So I always did that with a strategic blueprint. So that strategic blueprint is just like when you're about to build a house. Before you did your remodel, I'm sure it was written on a piece of paper or on a computer screen that says, this is where this is going to go. This is where that's going to go. Okay, I like that. Now you start building it. Well, as you're building it, you're like, I don't know if I like that tile choice, or I don't like that flooring choice, or, oh, I just had a new idea. I want to add this into that room. I forgot to do it at the beginning. And sometimes that's okay. And if you're and if you're following your blueprint and you're working through your development process, solving it with that 4-step process over and over and over again, ultimately you get to where you want to go, and you can start developing successful channels of business and the business that you're in, your main business as well.
I really like that pause point at the very beginning about identifying the problem and getting your people connected around identifying the problem, because sometimes what you think is the problem maybe already has a solution, or maybe it's the question behind the question, meaning like you think you're solving this problem, but oh my gosh, it represents, a broader issue. Maybe it's a systemic issue within the organization. Maybe we're solving the wrong problem. So gathering up those inputs, and I think that's another form of what Mark Schiller asks, do you like the solution, or do you like it because you created it? What I mean is, if you're in your echo chamber of yourself and then you're solving these problems and you're moving through the problem solving process and you get to the end of it and you like it and you have pride of authorship around it, did you, if you go back to the beginning, actually solve the right problem? Was there an opportunity to get more inputs at the very beginning so that you solved systemic issues and you made organizational progress?
That's right. That's right. If margin is dropping at a store, right, take it to the retail sales associate. If margin's low in the store, sales are low in the store, you got to dive in and say, what is that? Is it the person? Are they going through a tough time? Did they forget how to sell? That's probably unlikely. Is there new construction outside? Is there a new competitor in the area? Did we change a product line? We accidentally lost our best product and we don't know what it is. You got to really dig into what is the problem, because you waste so much time solving the wrong problem. We all do. And so that's why spend out of that 4-step process, 80% of your time should be spent on the first step, which is making sure that you're actually solving the right problem. And it's not a myopic problem that you think it is. It's the organizational or the department or the store or whatever business you're trying to develop.
I have another hot take from a former boss of mine, Perry Davis at Leggett and Platt. One time I was all ginned up because something wasn't going well. And I kind of have this sense of justice about me at times. And so I was telling Perry what was going on, and it involved like another person, and they were doing some things I thought were out of sorts. And Perry said to me, he goes, "Yeah, don't go hunting for problems." But what he was saying, like, it landed on me at that moment, because I wasn't working on solving problems that had high value. I was going and hunting for problems because I thought that somebody had gone off the rails and they were not focused on the things that I thought they should be focused on. And they were a report of mine. But there's a moment there too to take a pause point and be like, am I working on the right things, essentially, that are highest value? And I think that's where, getting that team input and rounding out your thinking is so important. Thanks for that framework. That's really helpful. It sounds simple, and it is, but execution, that's the beast.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, none of this is really that hard, right? I mean, we're all smart people. We all care about our businesses and we want to do a good job. And you wouldn't be in that role, whatever role it is that you're in, if you weren't capable and competent. And so believe in yourself, first of all, and then say, look, I can solve this. Let me just really make sure. And then again, go back to AI. Now, I didn't have AI. I would love it. Every time I stumble on a problem, ChatGPT is my homeboy, right? Like I go and I say, "Hey, I'm trying to identify this problem. What am I missing? Here's the thing that I'm trying to do. Help me understand what else. Think about you as a private equity business, and what am I missing about my solution, right? Act as a cross-functional partner and tell me where my gaps are in my plan." And that's wonderful. It's the best brainstorming partner ever. And so I think that there's some tools that we can use to do that as well.
Yeah, I'm all about the efficiency, and I'm all about having that thought partner too. It's right here in your pocket. I mean, literally, you just pull up your phone. Here's what I'm thinking about. Ask me a few questions. Help me round out my thinking. I was in a negotiation recently, and I couldn't figure out what the motivation was between the two scenarios that were being presented to me. And really, at the end of the conversation, I didn't have as much clarity as I wanted, but it gave me much more confidence in my gut. And it was like, okay, if I'm going to call up Jason, I want to pick your brain. Man, I don't have time. Maybe we can connect next week. Don't do that. You got it right here in your pocket, and it at least gives you some perspective that you otherwise wouldn't have. And it's trained on anything. You could tell it like, hey, be the person who wrote the book Spin Selling and help me develop my sales process for
There
this
you go.
event.
Or give me a summary because I don't want to read the darn thing. That's also helpful too. I'm a retail sales associate. I want to learn from this book without reading it. How do I do that? It's
Yeah, love it.
And I know, Mark, you're doing some great stuff with teaching AI, and you did some stuff at Dream Camp and shared with us. That was wonderful. I mean, you think you opened a lot of our eyes to what AI can be. I know some of your podcasts have talked about that as well. So I would encourage people, as a business developer, you are all business developers, and listen to what Mark's got to say on some of this stuff. It's really at the forefront of innovation in our industry, and it's helped me a lot. I know it's helped a lot of people. So thank you for sharing that information and helping us through this new world of AI.
My pleasure. I mean, I'm a super nerd with this stuff. I'm a sucker for some great efficiency, but I realized back in the day, I was a one-man band reporter. So I was on the news and I would shoot video and edit and do the stand-ups and do the live reports that night on the air. And I remember learning how to edit video, like tape to tape, like old school style, and then non-linear editing, like what you see in Adobe Premiere and Final Cut Pro and all that stuff. I had so much fun learning that because all of these disparate parts could come together to tell an amazing story and you had control over that. I have not had more fun since then as I'm having now because I can build tools, I can build software, I can consolidate and condense problem solving down into moments instead of months. And I think that's why I've had two different large organizations bring me in now to teach their executive teams AI and how to harness the power of this. It's not a toy, it's a tool. And if you get ahead of it, you're going to be much more set up to do anything from selling at state fairs to developing your own business. And it's going to be your superpower.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the things we didn't talk about is I'm big on creating a wow factor at the event, right? Like you gotta come up with something that is interesting, right? So I've done things where making a 13-foot bed that looks like the state of Texas with a Texas flag on it. We commissioned a company to make the world's largest dust mites, and I told you in our previous episode, set a couple of world records as well through doing this. So perfect. You also talked about my old hairstyle, and you definitely can see it there. This is the then world record, tallest stack of mattresses. As you can tell, not afraid of shameless promotion. This was done at the State Fair of Texas in front of Big Tex, who, if you don't know who Big Tex is, just Google him. It's a 50-foot tall cowboy, I think, at the State Fair of Texas. So we did this, and we had cameras and news crews all over. There was hundreds of people that were gathered around to watch us stack mattresses, something our warehouse guys do in the buildings every day. And so this record has since been broken, and then we broke it again in Chicago. And I just looked it up today. Somebody else broke it, and it's like 28 feet tall. That's 15 feet, I think, 13 or 14 feet. It's, doesn't even sound that impressive. Somebody built it to 28 feet high, and that is astounding to me. So former world record holder, two-time former world record holder, but that record now goes to someone else, and
Well,
it
from
never
a
did make
strategy
the book.
standpoint, though, like we talked about earlier, like what are you going to do to capture people's attention? So you did this, and it goes external of your booth, like it's at the state fair in front of big techs, like you said. And I think I count 6 different banners that say "World's Tallest Mattress Stack,"
Yep.
which I love. But you did it to signal to everybody there, we're here selling mattresses. It wasn't just like having fun. You were sending out into the universe around you, into this ecosystem of chaos. Like, we're here, we're selling mattresses, we're a fun company, we're doing cool things. Come over and put your boots up for a minute and see the adjustable base.
We got a lot of PR and free media from this as well. Stations in Houston and San Antonio and Austin picked it up. Obviously, Dallas had it on their news station, and so it was definitely worthwhile doing it. And it's really harder than you would think. So I encourage somebody out there, go beat the record. 28 feet is pretty darn high, but you can do it. And if you need some help consulting on that, I would definitely be happy to help someone break that record. Again.
There you go. You got the offer that he's going to help you develop your business, not only with like Prana Sleep mattresses and mattress stacking and helping you with the events. He can help you stack them properly because they do get wobbly. I've seen
They do.
Hey man, thanks so much for taking us through how to think about business development, your framework. Thanks for letting me explore my curiosity with the event side of things. I think it's so cool. Hey, and if you didn't listen to the last episode with Jason Goodman, go back and listen to it. Like it's fire. Like you really brought a ton of value in terms of talking about City Mattress's secret sauce and the secret sauce of Prana Sleep and how retailers can really develop their business. I mean, that's what it comes back to. Thanks. Hey, thanks for being on the show. How can people get in touch with you? As always, is it jason@pranasleep.com?
That's right. Yep. That's the best email. I'm on LinkedIn, pretty easy to follow there. A lot of you have my cell phone number, so just call me, and if you need it, you can always get a hold of me through Mark. I would love to talk to you. I love talking about this business. A decade being away from it has given me nothing but more passion for it, and just happy to be home.
Welcome back. Hey, share this with a friend. Go to thefam.com. Make sure you're signed up for our email newsletter. Subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you are listening and you didn't see what we were talking about with the mattress stack and you want to see Jason's very clean cut look, you can watch us on YouTube. Make sure and subscribe when you get there. And man, we'll have to do this again soon. Thanks for being on the pod.